Hello, this is Raziel Cohen from ndftraining.com, and today we're going to be talking about single-hand reloading. Now, like what we mentioned in previous videos, using one hand doesn't mean that you've been injured. It just means that you've been occupied, or it could be potentially that you're injured, but it doesn't solely mean that you've been injured. So it's a very important skill to practice because a lot of people only associate using one hand with being injured, and that's just simply not the case. So what we're going to be practicing today is reloading with only one hand. So the way the drill is going to work is we're going to only leave one round in the gun. We're going to draw, fire, and then our gun is going to go into slide lock. And now this is the part that there are a couple of different options of what you're able to do. If you're set up in kind of a duty style holster, like the way I'm wearing it right now, the best option to use is to take the gun and keep it in slide lock, put it back into the holster, find and retrieve your spare magazine, insert it into the gun, and then you can rack it off your belt, or you could use the slide release to be able to get the gun back in action. If you're doing this in a concealed carry method, which means you're using your appendix, you could use the same method, or again, if you're using 5 o'clock or whatever, you could use that same method and be able to reholster into that position. Now, this is kind of where Kydex holsters are beneficial because they're rigid and they stay the way and form that they were kept in. Versus if you're using something like a soft leather holster, this could be a big issue, which means you're gonna have to improvise different ways to be able to do this. Now, there are a lot of different methods. For example, having the gun, turning it around backwards, putting it between your legs so you have a clear view of the magazine while inserting the magazine, racking it off your belt, and getting back on target. What we're specifically going to be covering today is the use of a duty belt or someone who's carrying either appendix or 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock with a Kydex style holster. So this has been single-hand reloading. Now, as of the making of this video, a good point that I want to bring out is right now a lot of us are going to start wearing gloves because it's getting colder. And a lot of the manipulations you're usually going to be used to are going to be a little bit different because you have these on your hands. So make sure to practice all your regular fundamentals with gloves if that's going to be something you're going to be wearing, because now your fundamentals might be slightly off. So for example, for me reaching for my gun and I had to unlock the gun from the holster, that motion became a little bit harder just because there was extra material that I'm not used to there. So I'm bringing this up as we go because it's important for you to remember that these things happen. So let me make those mistakes. You practice them at home and make sure you're doing them properly, because that could be very important. Now, talking about single-hand reloading, there were two methods that I just did. The first method was using the slide release, which again, making sure your guns are oiled and cleaned properly is important, because my gun actually didn't go fully into battery like the way I wanted to. It took a little bit longer, which could also be because now that we're getting colder, depending on the type of grease or oil that you're using, it could affect the gun due to the environmental conditions. The other method that I use is that it's much more aggressive and usually much more guaranteed, is using the optic or using your what's called rare sights to be able to rack the gun against your belt to force the gun to go back into battery. Now, a lot of people don't want to practice that if they have an RMR, if they have a red dot of some form, because you're constantly whacking your lens against your belt or against a hard piece of plastic. However, that's kind of a part of training, and your optics should be able to withstand that without any issue. If not, you should probably change them out. This is Raziel Cohen from ndftraining.com. Thank you for watching.